Hello and welcome everyone to another one of my mindful conversations with beautiful human beings out there that are keeping it real, sharing that same vital message about empowering yourself, listening to your voice, and having self-love and respect and kindness for yourself. So I'm really excited today to speak with Viviana. And I met Viviana through another podcast I was doing. And I was like, Viviana's got this amazing message. She's got to be on my podcast to share her message as well. And Viviana, she is an award winning filmmaker. She has a TV show that's seen in 205 countries. She actually was the top 10 entrepreneur as spoken by New York. And also, she really helps other artists uplift how they feel about themselves. She's been on some media, as in CBC News, ABC's, Fox. She hosts different TV shows herself. And it's just mind blasting what we're going to be talking about. So that's just a little wrap up. Viviana, of course, is going to dive a lot deeper into who she is. So please, Viviana, let our audience know, our listeners know today who you are.
Hi, Tanya. Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to keeping it real, and we're gonna keep it really real, right?
Yeah,
This
definitely.
is such an honor to be here, and every second, every minute that I get to share my message or a word of inspiration with anyone, I think is such an incredible opportunity. So I'll keep that in mind. And well, I am more than anything, I am an artist. I was born an artist. I grew up an artist, and I could not study art because I came from this family that was very strict in South America, where the patriarch said something, I had to do it.
Yeah.
So I went for international business administration, which I resented for a few years, and now I am so grateful for, because now that I have an international organization, it's come really handy. But I'm an artist, a curator, and I developed into a publisher because I had this desire to create a platform for artists to, not just for artists, but creative minds to expose their work, to spread their message, and throughout the process, we created the magazine and then the TV show and now the podcast. So I think I'm just an artist trying to spread the message and support other artists out there. And whatever has happened along the way, it's just because the universe wanted it to be that way. But my heart is in the arts, and my heart is with creative entrepreneurs trying to make it, especially women. We go through so many challenges. So that's what I do. I help creative entrepreneurs live the life that they want to live, making a living, doing what they love to do, and making sure that they don't compromise their message and they stay true to themselves so that they can be happy and prosperous and successful.
Yeah, it's amazing because I find that and let me know what you think of this as well, Viviana, that a lot of artists, they have this creative passion, but they feel that they can't go forth with it for whatever reasons, right? Outside influences. And they tend to hold back. But then when someone like you comes along and says, no, share that passion, be proud of that passion, visualize and see yourself where you can be because you can make it happen. I find that the platforms you offer, for example, your magazine that there's over 200 million readers, it's giving them that platform, that area to go to and share that passion. And I feel that you're opening the door to so many other artists and creative people out there.
Yeah, and I feel it, Tanya. It's been a journey, a challenging journey for myself. And I think because of that experience that I went through, I have this passion to support other artists because I went through that not acknowledgement from my family and telling me, you're never going to make money as an artist. It's never going to be fruitful for you. So just do this. And
Mhm.
having that burning passion, because whatever it is that you're doing, if it's not what you really want to do, it's burning you. And I went through a whole process. I was a single mother. I had to struggle. I had to support my family, and I created this successful career as a salesperson and producer, and I was not happy. I was able to support them, but I was miserable inside. There was something missing there that I just couldn't get a hold of. And actually, for a process, for a period of time, I suffered from depression because of that. And just realizing one day, just waking up and realizing through a whole journey, through a whole spiritual journey, realizing that I was just not happy because I was just not fulfilling my purpose, what I wanted to do. So that's there.
Hmm.
Whatever it is that you want to do, it's burning you, and it's calling you. It's that thing that, when you have a job from like Monday to Friday and you can't wait for the weekend to do that. That's what you need to be doing, and
Yeah.
that's what you need to be doing for living. It's just a matter of us creating that way and making it happen. And I'm happy that our platforms are able to support the artists, and we also do coaching. I help creative entrepreneurs with coaching sessions as well. And there's challenge for everything. There's a challenge for everybody, but it doesn't mean that it cannot be done, because many of us are doing what we want to do. So it is doable. It is very possible, but it's a matter of us taking the first step and making sure that we make it happen for ourselves. And someone said, if you don't make it happen, it's going to happen to you. So you have to choose, what do you want? Do you want to make your life happen, or do you want things and circumstances to just show up in your life?
Yeah, that's beautiful message. And there's a few things as you're talking that came to my mind. Viviana, one of my passions I've always had is drawing and painting, and it's just something I do because I enjoy doing it, right? My daughter has that same creative talent. She's highly talented drawing and painting, and it's amazing. I mean, she's going to be 15, this month, but when I think back where you said, what is that deep drive passion you have, never let it fall to the side. And if you're doing a 9 to 5 but you have that creative ability and power and you want to do it, then do it and don't let you stop. And that made me think of, from personal note, my daughter as well, that I say to her, like, she wants to do other things, but I said, you have this passion of painting, so if you want to paint, if you draw, never stop. So she is doing that, and my son even told her, like, you should start selling this stuff, and he's like 18, right? And he's saying, like, she's like, no, I just have fun and I enjoy doing it. So what do you say to people like that? Because I know my daughter's not the only one. What do you say to Viviana that, the people that have that creative power about them, this naturally comes to them, and they don't want to do it as, let's say, a career out of it? How do you tell those people that, you know, do it. Just never mind the naysayers. If you want to paint, just paint. If it brings enjoyment, because there are people that just like, no, can't do it. So
Mhm.
what's your advice, Viviana, that you can offer those people? And I'll say it applies to anything in life.
Yeah, it does. It applies to any passion that you have. Well, the first thing you need to do, and that we need to acknowledge, is,
Mm,
why don't you want to do it? Are you afraid? Is there any fear that we need to face? Are we afraid? Like my grandfather used to tell me, you're not going to make enough money, you're not going to support yourself. What is the fear? What is it that is stopping you? And identify that first of all. That's it. Because that, once you identify that, then you can target, okay, how am I going to overcome this? Most times, more often than not, is finances. It is that concept of art, because we still bring that with us. And it hasn't been a career that has been supported throughout the years for our generations, and even before. I remember in my family, my one of my uncles is the architect, the other one is the engineer, and I was raised by my grandparents. So when I came up and I'm like, I want to be an artist, they didn't see that as, oh wow, she's going to be an artist.
yeah.
It is a difficult career. It is a challenging career. but it doesn't mean that you cannot do it. And the way to do it is to have a plan. So I always tell the artists, who want to jump into the full-time career, make sure that you have a plan. It doesn't mean that you're just gonna leave everything right now. You're gonna quit your job and you don't have any backup plan to support yourself, because that's just gonna frustrate you. That's just gonna create problems that is they're gonna stop you from being inspired, which is really what you need to do. So
Yeah.
as long as you have a plan, draft a plan. How much do you need to support yourself, or how much time do you need to create this? Write it down. What is it that you want to do? How much money do you want to make as an artist? Write it down and split it in goals. And once you have those goals, okay, so I need to paint 10 paintings, I need $10,000, I need this. How are you going to make that happen? But believe in it, right? You have to believe. So your daughter, I would tell her to sell the paint, to sell her drawings. There's so many artists doing it. There's so many online platforms that are supporting the artists for that also, and they can sell their prints. They can give classes, especially nowadays during COVID. I think a lot of people are finding their passion because they had no option.
Mm-hmm.
They were left, and I always say that once you lose everything, you realize who you truly are.
Yeah.
And I was there once. I
Yeah.
was there once. I had a very bad divorce because I had an abusive partner, and I am very temperamental. I was born in Colombia. I'm Latino. And I was like, get it. You're gone. It's over. And I didn't
Yeah.
think, bummer, how am I going to support myself
Yeah.
alone and these kids? And I went through a very difficult time because I lost my job. I was homeless. I lost everything. And that makes you lose any fear in the future. There's no fear because you know that what's gonna take you and move forward is not the job you have. You cannot rely on that job. And now you know that because we've gone through so many situations where people are losing, their jobs, their careers. You need to rely on yourself. You need to
Mm-hmm.
believe in yourself and make a plan. I could not even, this is something to emphasize. It's not just, yeah, let me do it. You need to plan it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You need to plan it,
Yeah.
control it. You can do it. It doesn't mean that you're going to have 100% control on your destiny, because the beauty of life is the surprises and
Yeah.
synchronicities that the universe present to us when we jump and decide that we want to do that we love to do, which is really our way of serving this humanity, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, it's so true, Viviana, that I talk about all the time. Life is a journey, right? It's a roller coaster ride. It's a path. And sometimes you're faced with things where fear can stop you and you create a roadblocks. But, I love that you share that same message as well that I talk about all the time. Believe in yourself. Don't let fear stop you. Because it's that negative mindset, right? That brings up the fear, that brings up the self-doubt, that brings up the thoughts of I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve it, or this terrible thing happened to me because something I did, or I deserve to be, treated like this, or I deserve to have this awful thing happen to me. And when you really start believing in yourself, Viviana, it's amazing how you can get over those roadblocks and you can get beyond that fear. And I'm not saying those thoughts and that fear, that non-belief will never be there. I mean, it always will be, but it's how you shift that
Mhm.
mindset. And it's when you start to believe in yourself. And you talked about it right at the beginning, Viviana, where you were in a career, but then you shifted and you changed and you believed in yourself. And then when you start believing yourself, when you acknowledge your self worth, what you have to give to people, what you have to share with the universe, all these beautiful things, the doors started opening and you're on a path where you're meant to be. And, would you agree, Viviana, that that's a really hard thing to get to, is the believing? But when you start to make it give yourself the acknowledgement, allow yourself permission to choose
Mm,
that it happens.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it usually happens after we've gone through some sort of challenge in our life. At
Yeah.
least that's how it happened in mine. And losing that security that I had in external circumstances, situations,
Hmm.
finances. Everything was coming from outside, right? And I was raised that way. I grew up thinking, if you have a good job, and I'm not saying that it's not, because you can thrive in your job if you love to do what you're doing.
Hmm.
But I wasn't happy. And those are the moments when you realize, so what if this was my last week or my last year? What would I be doing? What would I be wanting, for my days to be like?
Yeah.
And that's the moment. If we face that, if we there's an exercise that we do on my coaching sessions, and it's about that. It's about thinking, okay, so sometimes you don't know, sometimes you have
Yeah.
all these passions and all the things, and you're
Hmm.
not sure, especially when you're between your 18 and 25 years. You kind of want to do everything. And that's a way of exercising and thinking, okay, so what do I really want to be doing? What is going to get me off my bed every morning wanting to jump and do it? And that's what we need to. I think we're born to thrive. And I have proof. And the proof is that once you start doing what you're meant to be doing because that's what you love,
Yeah.
it's the doors opened up. I
Yeah.
mean, the heavens opened up.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
support comes, it's just pouring down. It's incredible how it works.
Yeah, we when we chatted before did this episode, it's something you and I talked about, right? About podcasting, for example. And you and I shared that we were always hearing this message about doing this podcast. And then finally it's like, hey, I'm gonna listen. So yeah, like that's what brought this podcast that I'm doing here, the mindful conversations. It was I heard this thought, this message, it was in my gut for like almost a year. And then I finally said, okay, let's do it. Right. And the same with you, that you were hearing the same message about this podcast and sharing this and allowing this new way of empowering you. And you're like, okay, I'm finally going to do it. So, what is that you want to do? Just do it, because at the end of the day, you will regret not doing what you want to do. It is, you just said as well, Viviana, is what gets you out of bed?
Hmm.
What has you moving about your day? What has you living another day? It goes, boils down to gratitude, right? Really boils down to gratitude. And I think that really brings us, wonderfully into the last, three questions that I have. And I always say to my guests, every guest, that we've learned about you, about what you do, the message that you share, how you help support, how you coach other people. But let's dive a little deeper into who Viviana is. So, Viviana, we all have quotes that we love. There's so many out there. And, it's not often that the guests I have repeat the same quote. So, what's a quote, Viviana, that you love, and you basically go about life based on this quote?
I want to read it to you if I
Yeah,
can, 'cause it's so
yeah,
long. I
yeah.
did. There's a few, but the one that comes to mind today is one that when you're inspired. Oh
Hmm.
God, I'm googling as I'm speaking to you. This is crazy.
That's fine. Sometimes we just kind of, oh, what was that again, right?
Yeah, this is a quote by Patanjali, and I'm going to wear my glasses so I can read this. This this sums up everything that I believe in. It really does. So when you're inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations. Your consciousness expands in every direction. and you find yourself in a new, great, and wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties, and talents become alive, and you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be.
Nice, nice. I like the part, what jumped out at me is how it expands. I always say it's like a ripple in a pond, right? Or like raindrops. Raindrops create this beautiful pond or this beautiful lake, right? And your gifts that you have and your messages you have, it's amazing how it can positively affect other people. So
Yep.
yeah, that's a nice one. Thank you. And you talked a little about advice, and I know I touched base too, but there's always one key advice, and I know you throughout our whole conversation you gave this amazing advice to everybody, but if there's one specific piece of advice that you really find helps shift other people's mindset or that you love to share, what would that be, that advice, those words of advice, those words of your expertise, what would they be?
Well, if it's for shifting mindset, I would say whatever the situation is in your life, even if you think you're doing great, but there's that thing in there that tells you there's more to life than what you're doing right now. Take time to unplug, pull the plug from everything, cell phone, TV, you name it, and connect to that being inside of yourself. That's where the wisdom comes from. That's where the talents are coming from. Connect to your source, and connect to yourself,
Hmm.
and listen to that voice within you, because that's the one that you need to hear.
Yeah, that was a powerful emotion because I heard your chakra, your throat chakra is starting to. So there's a reason that's happening, everyone. Okay, this is the emotion, and because
Yeah,
it's so powerful, what Viviana is sharing today, this is why her voice started to go out.
yeah.
So listen to that.
And I feel
It's
it. I feel it. Like I'm.
yeah, like the
Yeah.
chokingness, right? Yeah, I feel it too. And you talked about, find a way to get out of bed, find a way to move forward in your day. And I think that wraps nicely up in that last question. And I always say you cannot factor in family as your answer with this last question. So, if this was the last day of your life, Viviana, what is something that you would be grateful for?
I would be grateful because I am. I know that I am a spiritual being living this experience. I will come back to my source, grateful that I had a chance to have this experience. Oh my goodness.
No,
Wow.
that's fine. That's what I love about these conversations is I've cried with them before too. So I love it because you know what, you're keeping it real, right? And that's one of the reasons I never edit is we relate to real human beings. We relate to human emotions. And the fact that you're just letting things flow, it's keeping it real. It's keeping it authentic. It's keeping in the realm of kindness and the words we use and believing in ourselves. And the fact that you have such deep seated gratitude and the fact that you're here right now at this time to do something because people need it. And the fact that you've been meant to be here to help others, it's showing in the work you do, and it's showing it to the universe. And yeah, there's nothing to. I always say never ever apologize or be sorry. Right? Things happen because they're meant to happen.
Yes.
So on that note, thank you very much, Viviana, for sharing your voice, for sharing an acknowledgement that kindness, compassion, self worth, believing in yourself, and knowing you are here for a reason, sharing those messages, those words. It's been an amazing conversation. I thank you so much again for being here and just letting the world know that we're on this journey together. We're here to support each other. And the more we can come together as a community rather than one to spread the word, to spread the messages, the more power we can help the world as a whole. So thank you very much. And our listeners today, thank you very much as well, listening to another one of my powerful conversations here with Mindful Connections, Mindful Conversations. Remember to subscribe to the bell to get notification every time another conversation goes live. And if you want to know more about Viviana, down below is all the information. Reach out to her. She is here to listen. Thank you, Viviana. Enjoy the rest of your day. Remember, everybody, be grateful every day. And before you go to bed tonight, think about the best thing that happened and know you have worth. Take care. Bye, Viviana.
Hi, Tanya. Thanks.
Thank you.